Join me in this episode as I head off on a road trip to the Isle of Mull, travelling through Scotland's stunning west coast and taking a ferry to my destination on the beautiful island of Mull. Everyone, and welcome back to the vlog. I'm on my way to the Isle of Mull. It's going to take a couple of days to get there, and what I'm doing is I'm heading over to a place called Loch Allen, which is on the west coast on the Morven Peninsula, and I'm going to take the ferry from Loch Allen over to Fishnish, over on Mull. But on my way there, I know of a location where I'm almost sat facing it, where there's a tree that's I've photographed quite a few times, mainly in the snow, wintry time, but driving through, I've noticed that the heather is absolutely beautiful at the moment. So I'm going to go over, take a look and see if there's an image to be had. So let's go see. Okay, so I've got myself into position here. It's definitely a lot trickier to photograph without all the mountains covered in snow and without that sort of white backdrop that kind of blends in and helps to separate the tree. There really is only one really good position to get into for this tree, because as soon as you start coming around to the right hand side, you lose those beautiful branches that are opening out. So what I've done is I've got as close as I can on the wide angle lens so that I can really emphasize my foreground, capture some of that beautiful heather. I can't get too low because I don't want too much of a gap. What I've done is I've come up as close as I can so that those branches and those leaves are in the sky and in those beautiful grey clouds and not melding into those hills that are behind. So it's kind of a position that I'm sort of forced into a little bit. I'd like to get lower, capture some of that beautiful heather, but then I end up by sticking that tree right up into the sky. So what I'm doing is I'm shooting down a little bit, taking the tree as far as I can to the right, but again I want to catch those beautiful fence that surround it, and the sky's that lovely grey colour, so it is working well. If I can get a bit of light busting through, then it will really punch out those leaves. I'm having to shoot on quite a quick exposure because it's quite windy, so my shutter speed does have to be fairly quick. I'm probably aiming for around about 300th of a second, something like that, so that I really freeze my image. So anyway, I'll show you what on the back of the camera what I'm looking at. So I'll show you what I'm looking at on the back of the camera. You can see I've positioned the tree over to the right as far as I can, although it's still starting to look pretty central. And then we've got these branches, and what I've done is I've positioned it, I've come up a little bit higher so that there's not too much gap under those branches and the hills that are behind. Otherwise we're going to end up with a lot of blank space. So what I'm doing is I'm tilting the camera down slightly, as you can see, just to really capture some of that heather. The wide angle lens, as I say, is really giving me more foreground interest. It's pushing that foreground out to my background. And the clouds are beautiful at the moment. They're that lovely sort of dark mottled grey colour with some light punching in on the right hand side. It would be nice if we had some light coming down from my left. The sun's over to my left at the moment, but I think it'll be a long time before that light breaks through. So what I'm going to do is I'll take a few shots and yeah, here's the image. have to allow twice as much time to get anywhere when you're driving an old vehicle like this. So I think, as they say, it's more about the journey than the destination, and they're not wrong. So all you can do is really just enjoy the landscape as it goes by. So I'm currently on my way to heading towards Fort William, which is where the highest mountain in the UK is, Ben Nevis. And then when I get to Fort William, I head west, head into sort of Glenfinnan, Moydart way, and around to Loch Sunart, where I'm stopping the night. And then I'll be heading from Loch Sunart on to Loch Allen on the Morven Peninsula. You know when you've reached the west coast, because 1 minute it's raining, then the sun's shining, and then 2 minutes later it's raining again. I think that's a definite sign that you've arrived. So we're just now coming up to the edge of Loch Isle. This is the very top end of the loch, and we're going to be driving around, heading towards Loch Sunart. But this is where it really gets quite stunning. Some of the coastline along the west coast here is absolutely beautiful, very remote, don't see many cars on the road, and just enjoy the scenery. As we come around the bend, you can just make out the silhouettes of Airgid Brum in the distance there. And the cloud that's just sat hovering above the mountains on Rum. Beautiful.
People knew her by her will, to make it whatever she put her mind to. Late night hours up the hill, serving coffee to strangers, talking about revenue. She kept dreaming of a world big enough for everyone.
So spent the night on the edge of Loch Sunart, and now I'm just coming around, just heading on to the Morven Peninsula and hitting some of these hills, which the old van is struggling a little bit to get up. I think we're 20 miles an hour up the hills, but there's nobody behind us, so it's not too bad. But anyway, so now heading to Loch Allen and hoping to catch the ferry from there. It's a little bit windy, and but it's quite a short crossing from Loch Allen over to Fishnish. I mean, it looks like you could almost swim across the distance that it is. It's only about a 20-minute ferry ride, so and they run pretty regularly. So looking forward to doing this nice little stint through the Morven Peninsula and getting to the ferry.
She kept dreaming of the day butterflies survived the wheel, even though she got knocked down and never showed. Dear Lily, where'd you go? Where's your heart at? Why'd you fall back? Lately your afterglow is shining brighter, waking up an easy egg. I remember her in songs, decades old, but it doesn't matter. Stumble across old memories, try to recall before they all shatter. She kept dreaming of a world big enough for she got knocked down and never showed. Dear Lily, where'd you go? Where's your heart at? Why'd you fall back? Lately your afterglow is shining brighter, waking up an easy head.
So that's it, we finally made it over to Mull. Smooth crossing. It's not a long trip, 20 minutes tops to get across, but it was really nice, and it's nice to be on the island. Weather's pretty good. I'm hoping that it stays dry just long enough. We're staying at an actual campsite, we should make a change, but hoping it will stay dry to be able to get the awning up and get settled in before the rain hits. So, but so far, so good.
Where's your heart at? Why did you fall back? Lately your afterglow is shining brighter.
So it must be around about 8 years since we've been back over to Mull. We used to come fairly regularly and go in from into Tobermory side, but cattle grid. But it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, we're following the coastline, which is, we've got these small inlets, rugged coast, very rocky, and these single track lanes as we're just winding our way through here. And it's quite stunning. There's a lot of heather out at the moment, which is giving that little splash of colour to the highland foliage. And we've still got a bit of brown bracken, but it really is beautiful.
Mull is an island that has surprises around every corner, and I couldn't resist stopping to capture a few images of these old oak woods while driving the West Coast roads. If I stopped at every waterfall by the roadside, I'd never get to my destination. But this one, I just couldn't resist. Join me in the next episode of the vlog where I continue my Mull adventure and photograph some stunning coastal scenery. If you enjoyed the vlog, don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.